What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, joined by my guy Morgan here, and we are back once again to do another video for you guys. This time looking ahead to this week's preseason game with the Lions versus the Chiefs and trying to highlight a couple players or position groups that really should be focused on going into the second preseason game of the season. Morgan, as you know, this is not a time for necessarily be worried about wins or losses, but really it's like a good time to just hone in on the depth of this roster and try to get an idea of who's trending the right way, possibly trending the other way. And so hopefully with this video, we can kind of give the people a good idea of some names to just kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. I want to treat this like how to watch preseason football almost, because sometimes for a while, especially when I started writing, preseason's difficult to it's easy to watch because it's football, from that standpoint, but it's hard to watch because you're scrambling in the game. You're looking at your computer, your phone, trying to figure out trying to remember what numbers, where they're lined up. So it's just a big scramble. Even watching the all 22 is cumbersome because you're constantly, flipping back and forth between the film and then a roster or whatever off to the side. So yeah, this will be good because this is kind of how I feel like we're going to watch the game is we're trying to find specific areas or players and evaluate them independently almost, because like you said, they're not trying to win these games. It's all about the evaluation process for them right now.
Yeah, 100%. So let's go ahead and jump into this list. And for me, the number one player that I'm actually going to be kind of focused on is Isaac Ukwu. He kind of really jumped off in the last game and really kind of made a name for himself and really started making some waves just in playing that Sam linebacker role. And as news has come out this past week through training camp that the Lions are going to kind of shift James Houston back to just being more of a defensive end and trying to keep him more focused in that role, which in that case, Morgan, really opens up a backup Sam linebacker position behind Derek Barnes. And Ukwu, at least, again, based off of what he's been doing in camp, based off of what he did in the first preseason game, might be the front runner to kind of lock that position up. So I'm kind of really interested to see how he comes out in this next game and performs against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Because you look at it, Ukwu is a very similar build. He's a little taller than Derek Barnes. He's listed 6'3", 258. Went to Ole Miss. Rookie, so he's 25 years old. So he's a bit older. He's been around. Spent some decent time down there at Ole Miss, and I think he has the build and the requisite skill set. My thing is now I hope he plays early and often against the Chiefs, because then I think the Chiefs said they're running their first team offense the first half.
Yeah, that's an Andy Reid staple of starters don't play.
Yeah, you better buckle up, Isaac. So I would like to see him get some run pretty early on and extended, so we could get a really good look, and then we'd have some good film. And that's tough for him. Obviously, you're playing the greatest quarterback alive right now, and one of the best offensive minds the game has ever seen. But hey, whatever that saying is about just getting thrown into the fire, right? Just let's see how you do.
I think that's the best way of kind of looking at it with a player like Ukwu, is that he's going to get that kind of being thrown in the fire and being tested early to see how he can perform against both the run and the pass. And I think he did that really well last week when they played in the preseason. And I think this week, and again, just continuing to see him develop, he could be a guy that I could see the Lions really try to invest in for the long term, because like you said, I think he does have the skill set, but playing Sam linebacker, like Aaron Glenn talked about the other day, requires so many different things, right? It's not just about having the size. It's not just about being a great pass rusher. You have to also be able to drop into coverage. You have to be able to read what is happening in front of you. And so if they can kind of determine that that's something that Ukwu has in his game, at least that he has the building blocks for that, this may be another opportunity for him to showcase why he deserves a spot on this 53-man roster.
Yeah, and it'd be huge for him because you're going to get snaps. And if if you're going to be the backup Sam, you're going to be a core special teamer. So that'll be another place to watch Ukwu and see how he performs, because I guarantee you he's going to get a lot of special teams run. And that's the thing. People are going to, I hope people aren't bashing James Houston for not being able, they're kind of, reeling it back in and just making him an edge rusher, rush the passer, set edges against the run. We're going to keep it simple. Like you said, Miko, playing that Sam linebacker, that is a unique skill set, because not many dudes can move their hips and backpedal and move okay in space while also being able to set an edge against, a tackle that weighs 330 pounds. That's a lot. That's asking a lot of a human being. So I'm not mad at James Houston. I hope he can just tap back into some of what we saw when he was making his hay, back in 2022, right? So I really do, that's what I want to see from James Houston and from Uku. Yeah, like I hope if Derek Barnes plays, I hope it's only a series or two, get him off the field, and let's see what the young man can do.
100%. Another guy that probably isn't going to see the field, but it's a position I think that's still worth watching, Morgan, is that backup center role, right? And this is more so looking at the offense. Frank Ragnow's probably not going to play in this game at all. There's no reason to roll Frank out and risk any type of injury at this point. But because we know of like just the last few years, Frank has been dealing with injury after injury, whether it's the foot, the back, the knee, like whatever the case may be, he's had something going on. For me as a fan, like I'm already kind of mentally preparing myself that Frank's going to miss maybe 1 or 2 games or even just a couple series here and there with some of those injuries. And while I know the Lions would more than likely just shift Graham over to center in some of those situations, still having a quality backup center just so that, you can still maybe allow Graham to perform where he's best might still be a good idea. And the Lions have a couple of different players to kind of keep an eye on, right?
For sure. And like we've seen under, with this regime since Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and them got here, like Hank Fraley is all about getting his 5 best guys on the field. Lions offensive line coach, for those that don't know, Hank Fraley, best in the business. That's the way I think of it. So if the best 5 involves keeping Graham at left guard and keeping Neese, bringing in someone like Neese at center, then I'm all for it. People have talked, he's been playing well. The one play that unfortunately for him stands out in my mind is from last week when that safety got downhill from the Giants and put a whooping on Michael Neese in the backfield, and it was a tackle for loss. It was ugly. Good play for the safety. He's got some good tape out there now, but ugly for Neese. But yeah, I'd like to see if he plays a lot. I would like to see some more quality play against. I don't really know how much the Chiefs are going to play, like the likes of Chris Jones and whatnot. So that's good for Neese at least. You don't have to go against an alien.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say that D line in Kansas City is no joke, but still, like whether it's Michael Neese, whether it's Brian Hudson, Duke Clemens, like they have a couple of guys. The Lions went out and got a few different UDFA, offensive linemen that can play guard and center. And so it's going to be interesting to see, like, how kind of you were saying, how they rotate those guys in, who gets the bulk of the snaps at center in the first half versus the second half, and kind of start to see if anyone in that group is separating themselves. Because I think, like, there's certain guys, Morgan, I think you and I are fairly confident will be, like, the backup offensive lineman. Coyote seems like a guy that has kind of proven what he's capable of doing for this team. Colby is someone that the Lions are heavily invested on and seems to be making and trending the right direction. I think there still might be a little bit of a top toss-up between Manu and Skipper. Skipper's probably got the edge on him a bit, but again, they clearly like Manu as well. So there's a couple guys in there, but that interior offensive line, I still think there's some room to find, a player or two that could provide some depth.
It'd be really nice if one of these centers separated themselves. Kingsley Eguakun. I'm sorry, I'll get it right next video. I'm going to look it up. But yeah, he's another one that I know they've experimented with at center. I think he was a true center out of Florida. So yeah, it's another position, like another one we're going to get into where it'd be really nice if someone started, playing their butts off and separated themselves from the pack. Because that's the thing with this roster being so deep. You just named so many players, right? You have your starting 5. You have Coyote. You have Skipper. You have Manu. That's 8 already.
Yep.
So it's tight. You know what I mean? Like that's maybe one more, and that's your room, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And I love that you kind of again hinted at the next group that we're going to talk about in the wide receiver group, because that's another group that there's a lot of guys, and it doesn't quite feel like anyone's necessarily separating himself. And that's not just us saying that; that's coming straight from Dan Campbell, right? Like Dan himself came out this weekend just hoping that somebody does something, and so that's another group that we're going to have our eyes on. And it's not any one particular wide receiver, right? Like anybody that wants to go out there and make plays, it would be awesome to see it.
Yeah, man. And he's so funny with how like just honest he is out there. He's like, I think his words were, we're begging for somebody
begging.
Man, he's hilarious. He really is. Like, the thing is, if the Lions have shown this, and it's funny, he even said something about, he's like, I don't know if this is on 97.1 or whatever, but he was like, well, we're not going to carry a receiver just to meet a quota. Like, If we had to only carry 4, we'll do that. And if you're a tight end or a running back trying to make the roster, you're probably like, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, man, it's not ideal because right now you have JMO. You have St. Brown, you have JMO, you have Khalif, and those are the 3 guaranteeds. And then after that, I'm sure they would like to keep 5.
Yeah.
But man, like I'm really disappointed in Donovan Peoples-Jones just because he has the tape out there. He's not that far removed. I've said it multiple times from that like 800 yard season in Cleveland. What? I don't know. I just thought he'd be for sure. Like he fits everything, fits the bill.
And he's probably the guy that is probably like the closest to a shoe-in. Like if the Lions are going to keep 4, that's your 4th, right? And it would be basically off the strength of we know what you're capable of doing. And plus he has special teams versatility. But if you're Darius Fountain, if you're Isaiah Williams, I wish they would kind of stop doing this with Tom Kennedy. But if you're Tom Kennedy, right? Like there's other guys, Caden Davis. Like if you're one of these guys, now that Antoine Green is pretty much done for the season, like one of you kind of has an opportunity to really, cement yourself as having a roster spot. Darius Fountain was having a great camp for most of this offseason, and then like a couple days ago had a couple bad days in a row where he's just dropping the ball left and right. That's not going to win you a roster spot. And so again, if you're Caden Davis, if you're Donovan Peoples-Jones, if you're Isaiah Williams, this is the opportunity to go out there against a team like the Chiefs that's very competitive defensively and has that depth as well. If you can go out there and make some plays, you might be able to be the one to catch the coaching staff's eye. Now, I think it's also worth mentioning, Morgan, it is going to be kind of dependent on the quarterback play as well. Like we cannot afford to see the same stuff that we saw last week out of Nate Sudfeld, specifically Nate Sudfeld, and hopefully getting to see more of Hendon Hooker, seeing as he was back at practice the other day.
It'd be nice. I'd like if they started Hendon, give him the whole first half, let him get in a rhythm from the jump. You've seen Sudfeld plenty at this point. Like, see what Hendon looks like, when he gets the first possession and let him run the whole half. That'd be really fun for me because then you'd have a better opportunity to evaluate the receiver play. I feel like last week, I went back and watched the tape. It was late. I'm going to have a film article for this coming week, but I was at a wedding, and by the time I watched the film, no one wanted to read anymore about that.
No one wanted to relive the offense.
No, dude, that was tough. Like there was some good stuff here and there, but you're like everything looked out of rhythm and out of place almost, and just nothing looked easy. It was like pulling teeth minus a few moments. So I would like it minus that. A couple runs from Vaki and that one drive from Hendon where he was hitting his back foot and zinging it a couple times and making plays. So, yeah, it'd be nice to get some decent quarterback play out of here.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's jump back over to the defensive side. And this is like the first opportunity that we probably going to get to talk about some guys that have at least the potential to play some heavy snaps or potentially start for the Lions this upcoming season. And that being Levi Onwuzurike and Broderick Martin. I'm not sure if Levi is going to play because the Lions, like Dan has not been very committal about whether or not he's going to play starters. And I feel like this past week with some of the injuries, it would not surprise me if he didn't. But if Levi plays, Levi might jump up to number 1 player that I just want to see. Like, even if it's just for a series, I just want to see some of the same stuff I've been hearing about in training camp.
Yeah, especially going against another team. Like, we'll see, right? Like, I wonder if they're really so high on Levi, like it figures he's going to, like, say the Lions are in base personnel to start a drive and they have 4 defensive linemen on the field. I think he's going to be one of those 4. So do you want him playing heavy snaps in, week, I don't know, 2 of the preseason? I don't know, like maybe a series or 2. So it'd be nice to see it though. Like you said, just make him, a couple plays in the backfield, maybe see a dance, see what he's lurking with there, a little sack dance. And, get him out of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, it would be 2 series. Like that would be the max for me. Get him out there for 2 series, not even like every snap. Like rotate him in for 2 series, get him out of there, and allow Broderick then to kind of run the show from there. Because Broderick was another guy like Ukwu who had a really good showing last week, and Kyle Pecco is kind of leapfrogged him a bit in some of like the first team reps. But I still think the Lions very much have a plan for Broderick. Like, Broderick feels like a lock to make this roster. I don't think there's any world where he doesn't make the 53, but I think it could be very similar to how it was last year where he's active for some games and other games he's inactive. But him going out and again, getting quality snaps, getting quality work, putting up another quality performance could be the thing that has the Lions re-look at, whether or not they want to keep a Kyle Peko. And again, Peko has, he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a while. But if Broderick is showing growth and he's showing that he's applying the things that, Terrell Williams and Aaron Glenn have been instilling in him this offseason, maybe he deserves to have more opportunities to be on the field than a Kyle Peko does.
It'd be ideal if Broderick was ready, because then you have Broderick start next to Aleem, and you go from there, right? And then when Reader gets back, you have options at the one tech, or how you're going to move them around the nose, and I think you go from there. But if Broderick can just stay a little more consistent, I think that's what they love with Peko, right? Peko has the tape.
Sure.
They know, he's not going to offer a ton consistently from like a pass rushing standpoint, but they know he's going to be able to hold the anchor and not get moved
he'll
off
anchor
the ball.
well. He'll hold blocks. Yeah. He'll make life easy for the linebackers. Absolutely. And so
he can gap and a half, 2 gaps sometimes. He can do all those things. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and that's really what Broderick just has to be able to do consistently. And I think, like I said, I think he did it pretty well last week. And I think if Peko is getting so much run with the first team at this point in training camp, and it's really starting to sound like DJ Reader might miss maybe the first 2 weeks, right? I don't think they'll necessarily put him on the pup list or anything like that once the season starts. But I think they really are going to take their time. And if that's the case, someone like Peko is probably going to play heavy snaps for you if that's how you're looking at things right now. So maybe he doesn't play a lot, this week and next week for, in the preseason.
Yeah. And, that'd be fine by me. It's really, whatever they think is going to get everyone healthy and ready to go for when the games start to matter, I'm for. But yeah, I would love to see Broderick, like you said, come in there, consistently keep I know he's super tall, which it makes it more difficult, no doubt.
Sure.
Ask someone like Dan Skipper. But yeah, that pad level means something, man. Not being able to get moved off a spot, and then your linebackers are in a tough situation like you talked about. So yeah,
I mean, at the very least, if he can just ragdoll a few more offensive linemen like he did last week, I'm all for it. It's going to make me happy. I don't know how the coach will feel about it, but it'll make me.
Yeah, you see it, man. He's got juice, for sure. You see why Brad Holmes was excited to get him, and moved a lot of capital, if y'all remember, to move up to get him that last time, because that was during his flurry of trades, wasn't it?
Yeah, of training back and everything like that. Yeah.
If Broderick can put it together, man, he could have that freaky deaky skill set that people look for in a nose tackle, being able to push the pocket as a pass rusher, and then also just be a immovable force on the interior.
Yep. Okay, so the last group that we're going to talk about here is the secondary, right? And Morgan, this for me is probably a little overreactionary just to this week that we just had with training camp, with so many injuries and things like that. But going into this preseason game, considering the fact that the Lions, are dealing with injuries to Carlton Davis, to Terrion Arnold, to Ennis Rakestraw Jr., I'm going to be very focused on the play of Stephen Gilmore and Khalil Dorsey. And in addition to that, even though he doesn't play corner, but Brandon Joseph as well, I think those 3 guys in the secondary, there's a really interesting battle going on specifically between 2 of these players, right? With Dorsey and Gilmore. But Brandon Joseph making a push to be the 4th safety on this roster could make things really interesting with what the Lions decide to do at corner, and whether they decide to keep one less corner just so they can keep one more safety.
Yeah, this is where it's really fun to start playing with roster construction. When you go and read, the bubble watch articles that we do every week over at prideofdetroit.com. Sometimes that takes me a while, because I'm sitting there I just, you go through it a couple times, you're changing this and that. But yeah, there's definitely some competition. Dorsey and Gilmore both, that's what's probably really exciting for them. They have a realistic path to the roster if they can play well to be that cornerback 6. Vildor had himself a really good day the other day. I know people are like Kendall Vildor, but guys, if Kendall Vildor is your cornerback 5 or 6, that's good. That's fine. That's good depth. You're good there. Yeah. You don't want him starting. You don't want him playing 80 snaps against the Niners on the NFC Championship, but it's okay. It's, you know what I mean? So,
or if he is going to play, bat the ball away and find it. Don't let it ricochet off your face. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just
We're
not
going to
the
let that
face.
go. At some point in time, that will
One
not
day,
be the story of Kendall Vildor.
around like 2030, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully before then. Hopefully we have some new memories
Yeah, when
that
they win the Super Bowl
supplant
this
them.
year, no one's ever going to think about, Kendall Vildor letting a football hit
That's
off his
true.
face mask.
We'll let that one go. But yeah, that'll be both of them are going to get significant playing time. We were talking about it before we got on. I don't know how much. I doubt they play at all. Rick Straw, Terry on. I don't need to see any more from Amik Robertson. He looked awesome he was one of my favorite players to watch last
And he
week.
played a lot, dude.
Yeah, that's enough. Go ahead and put him on ice. He should be in a tracksuit with some sunflower seeds, maybe a hot dog in his pocket like they do during the preseason games. Let that man chill. He's a baller. But yeah, that one, and then Brandon Joseph, like you talked about, it's an interesting conversation because CJ Moore was that dude as the personal protector, just an ace special teamer. But Brandon Joseph's putting some good stuff on tape. Dan Campbell talked about it this week or last week, I think, after the game, and was like, "Hey, we asked Joseph to be a little more physical around the line of scrimmage, and he put that on tape. He flew up and blew up a play in the backfield, got the pick. Yeah, I'm big Brandon Joseph fan right now. So, and that'd be good depth, like we talked about. He can do a lot. He'd be a core special teamer, and I would love to see if one of these guys, Dorsey or Gilmore, like separated themselves because they've all had their times. I feel like through the years, right? They've been here.
I was gonna say Dorsey found his way onto the roster last year, late in the season, and was starting to make plays on special teams. Stephen Gilmore was the one that I felt very confident was going to make this roster and ended up on the practice squad. He's had a quieter, I want to say like a slightly quieter offseason than he did, last year. But I think that's more so to the credit of just how competitive that group is, right? You have
Sure.
Carlton Davis, you have Terrion, you have Ennis, you have Amik. Like a lot of those guys are playing heavy snaps on the outside, and I think it hasn't necessarily pushed him down because I do believe Stephen Gilmore's been repping with the second team quite a bit, but we didn't see a lot, as far as playmaking ability in the first game. So, you get out there in week 2 of the preseason going up against Patrick Mahomes. If you can make a couple plays against that offense, again, it's the thing that could probably put you, higher on the on your coaching staff's radar.
Yeah. And that's this coaching staff, and I think most are like this, but you hear it all the time from them. It's all about consistency, man. Like, yes, the splash plays are cool, but are you doing what we have coached you and taught you to do within the scheme on a down-to-down basis? Because that's how you play cohesive, intelligent football. And like there aren't busted plays. Like the Lions played a lot of it last year, even defensively. Like towards the end, they started, to buckle down a little bit more once they, they still weren't great, but they obviously made it. They almost made it to the Super Bowl with that defense. So yeah, I do. I want, especially back there, man. It matters. It matters everywhere in football. But this, Miko, the secondary. It only takes a couple hundredths of a second to indecisiveness or like overthinking things or being where you're not supposed to be, and then someone's sprinting by you.
Yeah,
you're getting your butt chewed.
Yep, absolutely. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. Let us know in the comment section below. Are there any other players or any other position groups that maybe we didn't mention in this video that you are actually going to be honed in on when the Lions take on the Chiefs this weekend? Like I said, there are plenty of competition and plenty of positions that are up for competition this on this roster that we didn't really dive into, like linebacker being another one of those that's some pretty good competition. The running back depth is somewhat of a bit of a competition, even though, listen, I think Craig Reynolds has a stranglehold on RB3, but
on 3, yeah.
There's still some opportunity for other guys to kind of make a name for themselves. So like I said, let us know in the comment section below some other players or position groups that you're definitely going to be focused in on. If you're looking for any more content or anything else related to the Detroit Lions, please go over to prideofdetroit.com. There are always new articles being uploaded over there. If you're looking for anything specific to training camp or some of the insight over there, all you have to do is subscribe to POD Direct. There is actually a link in the description that you can click that'll take you directly to where you can get subscribed. I believe it's only $50 for the year, which is actually a really good deal. There's certain places that make you pay $50 for a month to get stuff. So $50 for the year isn't the worst deal that you can out there, but you get lots of quality content, a lot of exclusive content that is not over on the YouTube channel or on the website. That Jeremy and the guys really put a lot of work into. So if that's something that you're interested in, check out the link in the description. Also, if you're looking to keep in touch or keep track of all the videos that we're uploading over on YouTube, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and that's going to keep you plugged into everything we're doing over here on the YouTube side of things. So with that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one.